Hey everyone, today we have a well-known lament for sin from Psalm 51. Have mercy on me, O God, according to your steadfast love. According to your abundant mercy, blot out my transgressions. Wash me thoroughly from my iniquity and cleanse me from my sin. For I know my transgressions, my sin is ever before me. Against you, you alone have I sinned and done what is evil in your sight, so that you are justified in your sentence and blameless when you pass judgment. Indeed, I was born guilty, a sinner, when my mother conceived me. Create in me a clean heart, O God, and put a new and right spirit within me. Do not cast me away from your presence, and don't take your Holy Spirit from me. Restore to me the joy of your salvation, and sustain in me a willing spirit. So today, do you feel guilty? Do you kind of feel that way all the time, like there's something wrong, you're not doing something right? Well, how do we see ourselves, and how does God see us? I think that's the big question here. This is a psalm to me about how guilt feels. It's an honest expression of personal feelings more than giving us some doctrinal, timeless theological truths. Because I think we need to make that distinction because there's some bad theology that's developed because of some particular lines in this psalm. For one thing, actually, sin is never just between you and God. Right? He says here, against you alone have I sinned. But if this is David's confession after what he did with Bathsheba, killing her husband, taking her against her will, I think she would strongly disagree that the sin is only between God and David. Sin always disrupts relationships, and almost all of our actions affect the people around us. And so while God is the ultimate judge and God needs to be a part of this conversation, part of that judgment includes making things right with the people that we've hurt. Now, another important distinction thing to realize is that nobody is actually born guilty. Right? This is the terrible theology of original sin that says somehow God is against us before we're born. Sin is inherited, that being human makes you sinful. That's not true. That's taking this out of context, but it is how we feel sometimes. And this psalm does acknowledge that. You see, this feeling, that feeling specifically is not guilt. It's shame. Guilt says, I did a bad thing, whereas shame says, I'm a bad person. It's an important distinction because if I did a bad thing, well, I can make amends. I can confess that. I can move on. But if I'm a bad person deep down, if I'm rotten to the core, then there's nothing that can be done. So what's broken is not your truest self. It's how you see yourself very often. So my hope with this psalm is that we have clean hearts and clear eyes to see ourselves the way that God does, as beloved children who make a lot of mistakes and sometimes need to make amends, need to make things right, but always knowing that our Father offers forgiveness because God is a God of love and mercy.